Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of Cenobite Studio. I know I haven't been online for very long, or rather it's been a long time since I've last streamed, because of a number of different issues, but I'm back and I have a new fancy kind of camera set up. I hooked up my old kind of Canon Rebel T2i, just a really, really old DSLR, to a kind of brand new desk mount that goes right over my desk, so I can keep my painting on camera more often, and I can manually rack focus and make sure that everything looks as good as it can. So I'm just kind of continuing on. This is sort of like a test stream. This is just me sort of making sure that the equipment works, and I can kind of maintain a certain level of professionalism when I'm streaming. Among other things. So here we go. I'm just going to be continuing on painting a group of sword brethren. I only have one more dude to do, and it's the sword brethren dude with a thunder hammer. I've been painting and collecting Black Templars for a long time, so I'm just kind of continuing on, just trying to get really my thoughts down when it comes to a black armor. A black armor recipe. So it looks like I have like a really unstable bitrate. I'm probably going to have to get a hardwire connection into my computer because the Wi-Fi signal strength is really bad, even though the router is like directly above where things should be. Kind of frustrating, but what can you do? Alright, so I think where I last left off on this model, I simply needed to continue doing really, really dark edge panel highlighting. The way we typically do black armor is we use the following colors. We use Stegadon Scale Green. We use Dark Reaper, and these are going lighter and lighter to Thunderhawk Blue, then to Rust Gray, and then lastly our extreme highlights are done in Fenrisian Gray. So the first step is to mix 50-50 Abaddon Black with Stegadon Scale Green, and that'll give us like a very subtle light kind of blue highlight. Let me just grab a brush. Should have done this before we started. Whatever, we'll do it now. We'll do it live, as they say. Alright, so let's just mix that right onto my wet palette. So yeah, it's a 50-50 Abaddon Black and 50-50 Abaddon Black with mixed with Dark Reaper. Sorry, mixed with Stegadon Scale Green. I've got my paints mixed up here. We'll rinse our brush off. Man, most of my paint's dried up. That's the sad part about it. I haven't been painting in such a long time that my paints are almost entirely dried up. That's really bad. Not all my paints, but here, I think I have another pot of this. Oh, Incubi Darkness. Sorry, that's with Incubi Darkness. We don't... Brain fart. I'm going to have to refine this in post. Alright, so yeah, you can see I've loaded up the brush once with each color, and I've unloaded the paint and washed my brush in between each application onto the wet palette. And what I'm doing here is I'm simply thinning the paint with with water up until it kind of has the consistency of like a skim milk. That's what you really want to do. And now I'm just kind of like controlling, let me just change rack focus here. So then now what I'm doing is I'm taking paint. I'm loading paint onto the brush, and I'm loading paint off of the brush. These are the two main kind of like motions that you really need to master. And the reason why we do this is just to not only keep the point of the brush, like maintain the actual pointy shape of your brush, but it's also to control the amount of paint that's on your brush. If you overload your paint with too much if you overload your brush with too much paint, what will happen is you'll have a harder time controlling where that paint's going to go. So yeah, that's just enough paint on the brush. Now I'm going to rack focus again, just so I can show you what I'm doing with the actual miniature. This is going to be tough to see, so I really need to kind of like optimize my lighting. So these are going to be really thick highlights towards the top edge of any given panel. And I'm just using the edge of my brush. And I can move pretty quickly. Again, these are supposed to be thicker highlights, and you'll be aiming you'll be getting finer and finer as you move up in our recipe. We'll be aiming for the middle of our last kind of like highlight. It's sort of hard to explain. When you have these thick highlights, they almost act as like a guiding, like landing strip for where your finer highlights will live. Probably difficult for you to see what I'm doing. I'm just trying to keep everything in focus here while I work. Here you go. Now let's get this kind of upper area here. Can I zoom in any further? Maybe the trick is to kind of be a little bit zoomed out. That way I can more easily keep things in focus. I don't know, yeah, that's kind of better. Yeah, when I'm not painting a tutorial on black armor, it'll be easier to see what I'm doing, but because this is like, not only do you have the glare of the lights kind of showing you where highlights are going to land naturally, I'm doing edge highlighting black on black, and I'm just doing like layers of like bluish gray on top of black. Hard to see. Alright, just under the knee here, do a thick highlight. It's okay to be just a tiny bit sloppy, just so long as you aren't like getting paint on the opposite face of what you're trying to highlight. Okay, now I'm doing the very top of the knee. Too much paint on my brush, so I'm just going to take a little bit off. Alright, here we go. Yeah, it's a nice and easy one to do. Now let's do the bottom of this greave, or just like boot, Space Marine boot. Yeah. See, you can see with the glare where that wet paint just was applied to. on the armor. Now we'll do this like this ball. We're just outlining the circumference of that shape. That's nice. Well, I can safely say that this camera setup is a lot better than what I was using before. I was using a GoPro on a stick kind of a deal. And it really wasn't optimal at all. Now the thing about this, using this DSLR, is I've had to install custom firmware to stop the camera from automatically turning off after like a 20-minute clip. So at some point in time I will lose connection and I'll have to reconnect the camera. But there's nothing I can really do about that. It's to prevent it from overheating, I think. Hopefully it doesn't destroy my camera. Alright. For some of these highlights, you can't help but do them more than once, because you really want the color to really shine through. Can you see what I'm doing there without my head? Is my head covering most of the shots? Okay, hopefully not. Okay. Yeah, I really need to keep this up. I really need to do more of this live streaming stuff. It's probably a good skill to have. I mean, just to entertain people and to kind of keep making video content. I want to sell a course on how to paint my Templars and stuff. Okay. Now we're going to do this. What do you call that? An elbow pad. So for the elbow pad, I'm doing the extreme edges of that elbow pad. And I'm also doing, there's like a contour that goes right through the middle of it. That helps to really define the Space Marine armor shape. Okay. God, Space Marines are so much fun to paint. I mean, it's a lot of work, but it's also so much fun. Because the sculpts are really good and detailed. Okay, we're just doing the neck goiter, whatever you want to call it. Gorget. I think that's the term. See how I'm using my fingers to brace parts of the model to get a steady kind of like brush control? That's something that you do. And I'm also, you notice how I'm like holding the model at odd angles just to kind of make it easy. Like it's easier usually to highlight up and down on a certain angle, depending on how you're holding the model. So before, I guess what I need to get good at here is to make sure the model's in focus, and you can, it's actually under some like a key light. You can see how I'm holding the brush, and then I just go to town on that. So I'm checking the monitor first to see if I'm in focus, and then I'm doing that. Okay. Now I'm gonna do my military armor terms are out. I'm totally out to lunch here, but I'm doing his gloves. Whatever you call those. Are those greaves? No. Greaves are the boots, or like the upper thigh armor. But I don't remember what you call gloves. Yeah, once again, these are thick highlights. Let's go ahead and do this here. I'm doing all the boxy shapes. I love the aesthetics of the Thunder Hammer, like just as a weapon, especially when you use it in Dark Tide. It packs a hell of a punch, and it's also great for anti-armor. If you want to get the last few hits on a tank or something, it's a good way to do it. Or just a really high toughness melee target in general. You got plenty of those in Warhammer. Big orcs, big space bugs, that kind of thing. Okay. Now I'm going to do that around the Maltese cross. Can you see it? Hardly. I guess we're gonna do the power pack next. I'm gonna go ahead. So yeah, this is what we're gonna end up with. This is something that I painted a while back. You go there. You can see all the edge highlights. They really pay off on the black armor. You can see it all over the power pack there. Those are the spots that we're gonna be aiming for. So we're gonna go ahead and do that now. All right. I might have to freshen up my palette. My paint's kind of starting to dry out here. And once again, that's a 50-50 mix between Abaddon Black and Incubi Darkness. So we're going to go ahead and do that to the power pack. The vents there, they're pretty easy to do. Again, you're using the edge of the tip of your brush, going in at a certain angle, like a slight 45-degree angle. That's really the best way to do it. Okay. All right, I need to load up paint. My paint's dried out here, so I'm going to go ahead and do that again. So yeah, once again, 50-50. This is a mix between Incubi Darkness. So I'm going to put that, load some up onto my brush, dip it in my water my water cup a bunch of times. You're looking for the consistency of skim milk. Alright, so yeah, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to wash my brush again, and then I'm going to be mixing that up with the Abaddon Black. Here you go. So yeah, let's mix this up. Let's put that in focus. Mixing that up. Yeah, put that in focus. Can I keep it in focus? There you go. Now we'll go around the top edges of the power pack. Around these vents. It's so difficult to see what I'm fucking doing. How can I optimize my cameras too? How about that? How about that? Here we go. Around this like circular element on the back of the power pack. like the hubcap of the power pack. Around there. There. Again, these are really thick highlights. Probably the most boring part of painting Space Marines, edge highlighting, and you'll be doing a lot of it if you want to achieve that like heavy metal approach to painting. For those who don't know, heavy metal is the official Games Workshop like painting team, and they're the people who paint the models that you see that have been photographed on the packaging of any Warhammer kind of like box of miniatures that you'll see in the store and online too. Alright. Once again, thick highlights. They'll be about 1 millimeter thick. That's what you're going for around every single edge of the black armor that you see, and around every exhaust circle. Like you'll see all these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, these 7 dots, these 7 little holes here. You'll want to just do a little. You're basically outlining the outside of it with 1 millimeter thick edge highlight. 50-50 Inky by Darkness and Abaddon Black. I'm going to keep repeating that, because that's the color we're using. Alright. There you go. There you go. Alright, let's keep going. There you go. Let's get the other elbow that's underneath on his offhand. This right here. I lost my viewer. Oh well. On with the show. On with the show. Now we're doing the hand over here that's holding another, the other hand. We're doing all these little individual knuckles. Okay, now we're going to move on to the next set of highlights. And this is going to be "100% Inky by Darkness." And these are going to be, they're going to take up approximately half of that 1 millimeter edge highlight that we did before. Just more towards the top edge. Yeah, I am a brush licker. I use my tongue and the area between my two front teeth. After I've washed the brush of paint, I'll use that to kind of form the tip of my brush. Lots of painters do it, okay? It's a legitimate, totally legitimate technique. What can I say? It's not weird. Okay. Alright. With my thinned down, pure incubi darkness, we're going to go ahead and just kind of make smaller highlights on top of our previous highlights. And I think this is going to be the point where the camera will actually start to pick up the work I'm doing. Yeah. Can you see that now? Maybe? Anyway, the camera will start to grab focus easier, I think. You'll be able to see what it's like to edge highlight Black Templars. Oh, there goes my camera. We'll turn it on again. Where the fuck? Alright. And we're back. Alrighty. Back to the elbow pad. Over here. Make them just medium, not a stick, just they have to lie within the previous edge highlight. Sometimes easier said than done, but whatever, we're here for the challenge, right? No one said it was gonna be easy. You just have to be consistent. And you can do it. You can do anything. What is it called? What is it, an armor? Greave? Pauldron? No, pauldron. I don't remember what it is. Now, greaves are boots, I know that for a fact. But what are the hand pieces called? Sabatons? Alright. People keep joining and leaving my fucking thing. Brutal. Ooh, can I hold on to more than one viewer at a time? God only knows. Alright, this lower area. And these highlights are going to be more actually on the edge. It's not going to be like surrounding the edge like clown makeup. That's the difference here. I don't want to wait for my Templars to be older. Oh yeah. Look at my double chin. Yeah. That's how you know. You're in the know. Yeah. You can pick it up on the camera now. That makes me happy. Covering my head, covering the entire shot. Oh, it's brutal. Anyway. My big head. My big stupid head. Pick the miniature up and bring it towards you. Now see if you can grab focus better. Yeah, that'll do it. Okay, let's do this leg. Do the highlights on that shoulder pad. Yeah. I'm just cleaning my brush because the paint started to dry on it, and that causes your bristles to sometimes separate, and you lose the shape of the brush. Now I'm going to do this pauldron here. Aiming for thinner highlights that live within the previous highlights to create that kind of smooth gradient effect. Yeah, definitely it's brightening up the model. And that's what we want. We want the armor to look black, but at the same time we want it to not be devoid of any, shape. or not devoid of any definition. And that's really the hard part about painting black armor, is you need to do a lot of edge highlighting in order for the model to look the way it should. So for these, we're going to the top and the bottom of all these gaps that you can see. The next step, after all this edge highlighting, the next step will be a little bit more interesting, I promise. That's when I'll actually start to lay down metallic base coats. Can we see this? Okay. That's looking good. Let's keep up the good work here. We're making pretty good progress and pretty good momentum here. Again, this is what we're aiming for. You can really see how these light blue edge highlights can really make the black armor pop. That's essentially what you're trying to do with the edge highlights. You're looking to make the miniature and all of its fine details just kind of pop out at you. That's the purpose of a highlight, if you didn't already know. Okay, what are we missing here? Okay, on this pauldron here, we need to do some of those. Yeah, once again, we're just doing solid 100% inky by darkness now. Don't have to worry about mixing to a certain value. Okay. And the thing about doing black edge highlighting is if you make any sort of mistakes, you can always just go over in pure black to correct them. So as I'm doing these edge highlights, if I accidentally make any kind of error or my lines aren't neat enough, I can just go back and correct them later. You don't really have the luxury of doing that with other Space Marine armor colors like green or yellow, especially unforgiving. If you make any kind of mistake, you kind of almost have to do an entire panel all over again. Okay, doing the back edges of this boot. Doing the front tip of this boot. Yeah, people keep joining and leaving. That's some funny shit. Back to the power pack. We forgot this right vent. Yeah, just a few more details to go on this step, and then we'll go up to a lighter shade of light blue. Gotta play some music probably. The thing is, like, you have to find royalty-free music, and a lot of it sucks. I had a radio plug-in the last time I did this. But I played slop. Yeah, that's right. I could generate some AI chanting. Oh, kind of lame. How lame would that be? It would be pretty lame. Okay, let's do this. Gauntlet. That's what the word is. Gauntlet. Okay. Over here. This is a 00 size brush that I'm using. Is there anybody out there? Not bad. Now I need to go shopping for more paintbrushes if I'm gonna pick this up again. Like, maybe I should just be more diligent when it comes to cleaning my brushes. But yeah, I'm pretty impressed with those edge highlights. They're pretty good. I mean, you can't really... Can you see now? Yeah, I think my seating is crap. Okay, just a few more edge highlights in this color, and then we'll go one more brighter. That is, it's still inky by darkness. Okay. We'll go over here. Alright, now we're... Oh, sorry, just 2 more lines here on the the right side of the power pack. And then we're good to go on to the next color. This is when we're going to have to get really neat about these edge highlights. So far we've been pretty lackadaisical with it. Oh, there. Now we're going to have to get super serial. Super serial. Alright. I think the next... We can move up to Dark Reaper, I believe. We don't have to do Stegodon Scale Green. It's kind of the same. It's pretty similar. Yeah, they're really these 2 colors, Stegodon Scale Green and Incubi Darkness. We can kind of cut out Stegodon and just go right to Dark Reaper. And I believe this is when we start to get more Zenithal about it, meaning only the top edges that are closest to the light source. When you paint with the heavy metal style, you're kind of operating under the assumption that the light source is directly like above the miniature, pointing down. So when I say Zenithal highlight, I mean like only the topmost edge of the gorget of the armor, or you know, the ones, or like this bottom edge here of the power pack, because those are the edges that are going to catch the light. You'll see more as I go on. You'll see more of what I'm trying to talk about. So yeah, Dark Reaper is the next edge highlight, and this is a Zenithal edge highlight. I'm really not sure. We'll see how it looks. Okay. Does that look good? Yeah. Yeah, okay. I could use a cleanup on the inside of the gorget there. I'll do that later. Yeah, I'm gonna have to do a cleanup. Alright, let's continue along there. I need more Dark Reaper on my palette. Okay, right in here on the top of the power pack. That's pretty thick. I'm not happy with that. I'll have to probably redo that. Let's do the best we can. Looking sharp. Let's keep going. My God, I'm so Canadian. Looking sharp. Yeah, it's starting to come across. All right. We are painting light. The light values are coming across on this dull black model. We're painting light. So towards the top edge, we're going to see more glare. We're going to see more the glint. Some tiny edge highlights. Wherever we know the light's going to catch. We call that a zenithal highlight. Because the zenith, the top edge of the light, is what your eye's going to catch, and that's how the shape is going to be defined. So just like, well, these little pippy, these little side areas thing, I don't know what the fuck they're called, exhausts, I guess. The top edge of the highlight. The top edge is what you're going to highlight, because that's how you're going to create that like depth. All right, so up here, just the tip of the edge of the brush. You're going to use that, and you're just going to kind of gently take your brush and like stroke the top edge there, and then you can see that it's already looking so much better. Continuing on. What am I going to do now? I'm going to continue along the other gauntlet. I have to do those, the area around the knuckle, like that. Every little individual digit. So I'm just cleaning my brush. I'm doing this with it. I'm twisting gently and pulling away. This is a clean brush. I'm just going to twirl it on my tongue. Form that nice point. You want to maintain that point. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to control where your bristles are going to go. And they're going to be all over the place. So I'm just loading up once again. This is now Dark Reaper. So putting that on my wet palette. I'm adding water and I'm diluting my acrylic paint. I want to get it to a consistency of milk. When a lot of, I'm sure you've seen all those memes online of like thin your paints. They exist for a reason. You have to thin your paints. Otherwise they're going to be gloppy and they're going to be crappy. Alright, so yeah, back to the digits. Yeah, let me just get this in focus. Yeah, we need to do these. Yeah. One, two, three, four. That's good. Alright. Gauntlet. Yeah. Now we're going to do the top of the knee pad. That edge there. Now just below this edge here as well. Yeah, this is really thrilling stuff, I know. Okay, so as my paint dries on my wet palette, I'm also going to add water just so they can live a little bit longer and they don't dry out on me. Going here. That's the other elbow pad. Holy shit, I have two viewers. Stay put, guys. I swear it's going to get more interesting real soon. I swear to God. Alright. Alright, now I'm just going to skip forward and go to the extreme highlights, and we're going to be doing those in Fenrisian Grey. No, actually, no, never mind. We're going to do that in Thunderhawk Blue. That's going to be the extreme highlight for now. And this is going to be me kind of like tapping corners here. I'm going to be doing wherever you see any of these armor panels, wherever you see a corner, you're going to go ahead and just do a single dot. I got to shake this up. Once again, I'm thinning to the consistency of milk. Alright, so here, I'll give you an example. Wherever you see a corner, you just do a single little dot, and that really makes it pop out. That's the magic. That's the edge highlight magic really coming to the fold. Here you go. You don't want to fuck up and make them too big. But you can see that really kind of makes the shapes pop out at you. You can actually see the real definition of the armor. So over here on the corner, the middle, and the corner of that, and then even like halfway through, you can do the same thing. And that creates a natural kind of like a natural glare effect. Alright, we'll do the gorget, that like neck, that thing that goes around the Space Marine's neck. The top and the bottom. And also, once again, the corners. Every corner, you're going to do one little dot. So I'll just shut up and do it now. It does a lot. Okay. The corner of the top of the side plate. The waist plate? I don't know what you call it. The corner of the knee pad. And also the power pack has lots of these panels that end in corners. Just do a little dot. The paint is drying on the edge of my brush, so I'm just going to go ahead and wash it off and then load it up with fresh paint. And that's what you're going to be doing like almost every 2 minutes when you're painting Warhammer. Yeah, just once again, I'll show you guys. This is the end result. You'll see, just pay close attention. You see all those little dots along the back of the power pad? Yeah, now you can see them. That's what I'm aiming for. And that really comes a long way. Yeah, that's Thunderhawk Blue. Loading some fresh paint onto my wet palette. Alright. Here we go. Now, going back to the gauntlet, just the tip of every single finger joint, like just, fingertip, middle, and then like the beginning on that on every single finger on the gauntlet. That's what you're going to be doing. And that really makes the detail pop out. Yeah, you can really, here, let me get it in focus. You can really tell what's going on. Okay, once again, every single corner needs one of these dots, so let's keep doing them. Now we moved on to the greave or boot. I'm doing the same thing. every single little corner or intersection, you're doing just a single dot. And then that, yeah, now you can really see on the camera what it is you're actually looking at, and not just a black blob of Space Marine. Alright, here we go. Every single corner, and even on the knee pads, you can halfway through, you can do one of those like highlighting dots to create that like glare effect of shiny black armor. Alright. Yeah, there's these little nubs on the top of the power pack. Or power plant, if you want to be a pedantic nerd. Actually, it's called a power plant, not a power pack. Yeah, each of these individual vents, I'm getting a zenithal on these little top things, vents. Some people like to put like red washes so it looks like there's like a real nuclear reactor going on in there, or like as if it's like a furnace. But I also like halfway, like vertically bisecting each of these. You can do a dot like this. Oh, I need more paint. I need more paint on my brush. Hold on a second. Now halfway through, I do this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. In a straight line across the back, and then that kind of, once again, it gets that like that glint. Alright. And I have to do all these tiny holes in the same fashion along the bottom edge. Okay. With Thunderhawk Blue. I'm just tapping the bottom edge of these tiny little portholes. Exhaust holes. There you go. You can see that really brings it out. You can actually see them. Yeah, along this this power plant hubcap, same thing. Every single corner, dot, 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 and dot, dot, dot. And it brings out the detail of the model. Dot, dot. Alright, we're almost done this step. And then after you're done the edge highlighting of a Space Marine, then that's when you can start to actually kind of enjoy it. Where it becomes about like bringing out the detail in the weapons and like the eye lenses, the metallics. That's going to be the next step. I'm going to be base coating metallics with Lead Belcher, one of the Citadel colors. Yeah, it's like a steel base coat. Yeah, I think we're good to stop on the armor paneling. Yeah. Alright, I'm quite satisfied with that. So let's move on to the Leadbelcher base coats. So that'll be all of the chains, all the small sections between the black panel armor, like all the joints. We're gonna, even the Thunderhammer itself, I'm gonna be doing in Leadbelcher. So for that, we can get a thicker brush. All right. All right, I'm gonna take a break. I'll see you guys in a bit.